Hi, everybody. This is Lora Thorson, and you are watching Defenders Live. We have a good show tonight, and I'm super excited to introduce you to a couple of guys that will be on the live with me tonight. And for tonight's order, I just want to let you know that I have a couple important lessons I want to share with you that I learned. I've known these lessons, but I just wanted to share them with you this week. They really resonated with me, and I think they might help you out as well. And later on, we're going to be talking to Brent Hickman, who's the owner of Haven Defense Company. He's on the call with us tonight, and he is my go-to guy for all things holster related. And he's going to talk to us about holsters and concealment tonight. So we're really lucky to have him on, and bring your questions for Brent as well. So first of all, I just want to thank you for attending tonight. And please drop in the chat where you're from, because I love to hear from you guys while we're doing these lives. If you're watching this as a replay and you want to join in next time, go to jnltraining.com and sign up for notifications. All right, so on the call tonight, along with me, again, my name is Lora Thorson. I'm an instructor at Defenders USA. I also have two fellow instructors, Brent Hickman and Adam Winch here, who's also the founder of Defenders USA. And so they'll be on the call tonight to add anything to the conversation. And just a little quick intro on me. I'm located in Southwest Montana. And if you want to know more about me and my story and why I'm here, go back to the July 27th replay of Defenders Live, which you can find on the Defenders USA YouTube page, or in that Facebook group called Defenders Live with Lora Thorson, where you can see all the replays. So welcome Adam and Brent to the call. And Catherine made it tonight. That's good. Gloria's here. That's wonderful. And so let's reiterate why we're here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. What we want to do is work as much as we can to help you grow as a defender. And being a defender is about a lot more than shooting, as you've heard me say before. And for me, the thing that I feel like I can bring a little bit to the table is where personal growth and shooting growth go hand in hand. They're a parallel track. And so I touch on that a little bit every time that we are on these lives, because I think that the more that you work to become a better person in general, and you learn to translate that into other parts of your life, the better you're going to be in many areas besides just shooting. So that's why we're here. And let's see, if you haven't shouted out in the chat where you're from, please go ahead and do that. I see we've got people from Texas, Montana, Michigan, and Arizona, Colorado. That's super exciting. So let's get into a couple of, I guess I'd call them tips for the week. You know how you go through life and these little things happen in your life. For me anyway, I observe the lessons that I take from those. And they're not really very big things in the grand scheme of life, but if you're not paying attention, you can miss the lesson. So tonight, I just want to share with you a couple of lessons that I've had to maybe relearn this week. And one of them isn't my lesson, but it's a good story to tell, I think. So the first one is, I was in a competition last weekend, and I hadn't been in one for quite some time. And when I got done with the competition, I mean, I had a ton of fun. I got to hang out with super cool people, but I started becoming focused on, like, you want to know, like, how you like ended up, right? You want to know, like, where did I finish in the lineup? And whenever I learned how I had finished, like, it was like, part of me was like, well, that's pretty good. And another part of me was like, yeah, but you could have done better. You know, and I kind of went back and forth in my mind of, like, how do I really feel about that? And I think I took the route of maybe being a little too hard on myself, because that's what I tend to do. And I'm not even going to tell you where I finished. I think I did okay, but that is irrelevant to this conversation. So, because I want you to know the lesson behind it. And so anyway, a couple of days later, I got to thinking a little bit more about, like, you know, I didn't even share it on my personal Facebook page. And why didn't I do that? I don't know, because I go back and I could watch the video and I could see things that I could have done better. And, you know, it wasn't my, like, best turnout ever, but I had a ton of fun. So why didn't I post it? But I got to thinking about the whole concept of celebrating a win. And I thought to myself, you know what? I think the whole concept of celebrating a win has nothing to do with winning. Like, I think the concept of celebrating a win has everything to do with gratitude. And for me, like, I felt like the fact that I was able to shoot at a competition, like I'm physically able, to go to one of these competitions, right? I got to share a competition and spend time with my husband. We got to go together. We actually had the money to hire a babysitter for the day. Like, it was super exciting. It was like we were on a shooting date or something. That might sound silly to some of you, but like when you've got little kids, that's a big deal. We were surrounded by really, really great people. We had a ton of fun. There was a torrential downpour in the middle of the shooting competition. So we had to like take cover for 20, 30 minutes. But we were all in there like just marveling at the beauty of Montana and just the people we were surrounded by. And to me, like, that was a win. Like, when you think about it, that was a win. All of those things were. So to me, celebrating a win and making sure that you do that doesn't mean you're always first place. It doesn't really matter where you end up at the end of the day. What matters is, like, what did you get out of that? Are you living your life to the fullest? And do you have lots of gratitude for those small things in your life? Are you grateful that you're able to get up every day and shoot and or go to a competition or do the things that you love and share that time with your family and your friends? Like, that's part of the reason we love shooting, guys. We love the people we hang out with and the friendships that we make. So my point in all of that is just make sure you're celebrating those small moments in life that fill you up, because those are wins. And so celebrate those. So my question to you in the chat, guys, is like, what in your life can you compare this to that you need to celebrate? What are those things you're grateful for in your life every day that are wins for you that you need to remember to celebrate? And for me, I think gratitude is really key. And so there's my first lesson. So I'm going to go. Any comments, Adam? I see you're smiling.
No, I'm
Okay.
just so proud to hear that for you.
Oh,
Every bit of this, everything we do is about living our best life, right? The gun is just another tool to make sure we continue to do that. And I'm so proud to hear this. By the way, second aside, Bethel Wagner, I love your picture.
yeah, Bethel, I'm so glad you're able to make it tonight. That's awesome. So the second lesson, it's a short one as well. We want to get to Brent and his holsters and concealment, but I think this one's important too. And I didn't really see this one coming, but I saw a post on Facebook from a gal who I'm friends with, and she's not like a shooter or anything. She's actually an equine photographer, and I'm a photographer as well. And I think that's why we ended up being friends. But anyway, the second lesson I want to tell you about tonight is called Don't Give Away Your Power. I saw this post from this gal, and she had this beautiful picture of this headshot of this horse. And stick with me, guys. Like, we're going to relate this to shooting, okay? But I thought it was going to be like a brag post where she was like, hey, guys, look at this cool picture I took. Instead, she was like really torn up. She was really upset because what had happened was she had taken this photograph of this horse and she'd spent hours editing it and pouring her heart and soul into this editing of this picture to make it a work of art. And she presented it to the owner of the horse, hoping that she would want to buy it and love it as much as she did. And what ended up happening was that person really tore her down. And she really just picked apart what, she had done. And she came away from that with like no confidence at all, like almost questioning her abilities, and wondering why she was even in the business and all these things. And I just felt really, I felt for her because I kind of know how she feels. And I think, there's other times maybe in our lives where maybe we've looked up to somebody on the shooting range, and maybe we've worked really hard to do something on the range, and then somebody that we look up to really has picked us apart or torn us down. And we can really take that personally, and we can really lack confidence in doing that. And I want to ask you in the chat, or maybe it's a rhetorical question, but like, when have you ever had something like this happen to you? Have you ever worked on something really hard only to be torn down by somebody that you really looked up to, and they actually did it in a really unproductive way? I mean, there's a way to have criticism for people in a constructive way, but there's also a wrong way to do it. So I felt really, called to message this gal because I knew exactly how she felt. And, and I did think her photo was a work of art. It was really a good photo by all standards. It was absolutely wonderful, and I let her know that, but that's not what matters. What really matters is that I told her, I think that as long as you know that you poured your heart and your God-given talents into that photo, that is what matters at the end of the day. Same with your shooting. If you know that you left it all out there and you gave it your all and you used all of your God-given talents, then that's all that you can do. And that isn't something that anyone else has the power to take away from you. And they can never know, nobody but you can ever know how much work that you've put into something behind the scenes. They'll never appreciate it the way that you do because you're the one that put in the work. And so therefore, for somebody on the outside, not knowing your personal journey, for you to allow them that power to tear you down, I think what I'm trying to tell you is that you have that ability, whether or not to give them, you have the choice whether or not to give them that power. And what I'm telling you is that power is yours. And so this is your journey. Your journey is not going to be like anyone else's. So don't compare yourself to other people or let others dictate your happiness or your growth or your success. That will not serve you. So let it go. And don't let anyone squelch your passion. If you have a true passion for something, you don't need others' approval to have that passion or to grow in the way that you want, if it's productive and a positive thing for you. So my point is that you have the power and it's yours and yours alone. So stop giving it away to others. So anything to add to that, Adam? If not, we'll move on. No. So there's my second little lesson for the week. I always try to give little tidbits. And the reason I do that, guys, is because, it's as important for you as it is for me to have those reminders and just sharing those, I think maybe will help somebody out there. Maybe you needed to hear that today. I hope. I don't know. I hope I helped somebody today. All right. So before we get into holsters and concealment, I just want to let everybody know that we do have upcoming classes at Defenders USA across the country. And Brent, I believe, has classes coming up in Colorado. Adam has classes in Texas and Arizona and New Mexico. I have classes in Montana, and Adam will also be in Montana the end of October, first part of November. Yes, got it right. And you can go to defenders-usa.com, click on upcoming courses to get the lowdown on where all of the Defenders USA courses will be. I know other instructors at Defenders USA offer private lessons. So keep that in mind. If you're not into the group setting and you'd really just like some one-on-one help, I do believe that is possible. And we would love to help you any way we can. And also, I don't know if they offer this, but I offer digital Zoom lessons. They're not shooting lessons over, Zoom, but for those people that are new, that are just trying to get started, that need to get set up and ready to go into live training, there's a lot of stuff we got to think about. And I'm happy to walk you through that and help you out any way I can. And some of what we'll hear tonight with Brent, I think will be helpful with that as well. And I hope you brought lots of good questions. Last thing I'll say before we move on is that I have, I don't even think Adam knows this. It's my show. I can do what I want. I have a guest next week, Wednesday, on August 24th, James Fleming with Warfighters Concept. It's Warfighter Concepts. And he'll be on next week. And that should be a really good show. Then the week after will be Brian Hill with The Complete Combatant. And I know I'm really looking forward to that interview. So that's what's coming up in the future. So make sure that you're tuned in. If you're not yet on the email list, then go to JNL Training and get on the email list so you can join in on the lives. All right. So I don't know if I am going to be the best at doing this, but I'm going to do my best to introduce to you Brent Hickman of Haven Defense Company. He is going to be talking about holsters and concealment tonight. I'm going to be asking him some questions. If I see some questions in the chat that I think would be helpful as well, I might throw those in, or we can leave those to the end of the Q&A, because that'll be shortly after Brent gets done. So for me, anyway, what I know of Brent, and I haven't known him as long as Adam. I've just met Brent this year, but I do know when I was in Adam's class in April, I needed a holster pretty badly, and he got to me right away. He had really good customer service. He's a small family business, and so obviously the customer service is going to be a little bit better than a huge corporate, company. He is my go-to guy for all things holster and concealment. If I've got a question, I know he'll know the answer. He has personally taken my holster and made modifications to different things on my Enigma. He's set me up, and I really appreciate all the help that he's given me, because it's a process, guys. I mean, it takes a long time to get set up the way that you want. Sometimes if you're not sure what to do, you start down one path, you end up buying this holster or that one, and then you figure out that that's not what you wanted, or you change guns or whatever, and you end up, like Trish says, with a Mary Poppins bag of holsters. And then, you've got all these holsters, and it's just a mess. So we're going to try and save you from the Mary Poppins bag of holsters, and get you some knowledge and education here tonight. This is a guy that works super hard in the industry. He's got a lot of good information. And so, Brent, I'm going to unmute you, and then I'm going to ask you, maybe I will. I'm going to ask you some questions here, Brent. Hold on. All I can do is ask you to unmute. Huh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. All right, Brent. I don't see you on camera, though.
It's my phone. How about now?
Yeah. Okay. I can hear you and see you now. All right. So to lead into this, and I hope you're okay with this, Brent, I just want to have a few lead-in questions here, and then you can take it away. But the first thing I think we need to address is, like, why do we need a holster in the first place? There might be brand new people here. We need to address that. Why do we need a holster? And then especially, why is a properly designed and functional holster really important?
Well, the main reason you need a holster is so that you can conceal carry or carry however you prefer, right? But everyone in Defenders is probably going to suggest that you would conceal carry. We do offer open carry holsters or range type gear holsters and that kind of thing too, but our main focus is concealed carry, because a lot of the first steps of carrying are often kind of a daunting thing, right? So that's always the first thing. Like when my wife first started carrying, she was always worried about people seeing it, right? And more of a, not really getting in trouble with the law, but just the social, consequences of, hey, that person has a gun, right? Because not everybody is a gun supporter, right? So the main reason to want to carry is for self-protection, really. So, and a good holster is a key to your practice regimen and carrying confidently. So.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. So then can you tell us what makes a good holster, and what are the common misconceptions out there about holsters?
Sure. Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, we can hear you. You don't have to mute every time. Just keep unmuted.
All right. So what makes a good holster? Usually Kydex is the better of the materials to choose from. Some companies make injection molding type holsters. Most of them are okay. They're safe, but they're not exactly an industry standard. There's only a few companies like Raven Concealment that I would consider suggesting people use if they want that type of holster for injection molded, and that's a mass production type thing. And Kydex is a thermoform plastic, so each holster is thermoformed to a positive mold, basically, and then all the rest is done with the holster. So, and then two misconceptions that drive me crazy, first of all, is that definition on a holster, specifically Kydex, equals quality. So if you can, I'll show you, you can see like the trigger guards and all that, you can really see it. It's got good definition. This is one of ours, but definition does not equate to a quality holster. It could be super thin Kydex, and that'll eventually crack and break, and then you need to replace it because they are a wearable item. So eventually they wear out because it's plastic and it flexes every time you put a holster in or put a gun in. It opens and creates frictions, and eventually they'll crack. So you want to find a holster maker that offers quality, thicker Kydex or Bolteron. Those are the two brands of thermoform plastic that these are made out of. And the other misconception is the flip it upside down and shake test. So a lot of people will say, oh, if I stick the gun in, by the way, this is a blue gun, totally inert, it's not real, it doesn't work, just in case anybody's watching and wants to be a little mean about it. All right, so once the holster, or once the gun's in, they'll take it and flip it upside down and shake it, right? That doesn't always equate to a good holster either, because the purpose of the holster is to retain it on your person until you need it, right? We want it to come out when we want it to come out. So oftentimes, if you're flipping it upside down, that doesn't mean it's a good holster. It could get you killed because it doesn't want to come out. So be aware of that too. So don't use that as a test. Those are my two nitpicks on misconceptions of people that they kind of proliferated the industry, but it's not exactly true. So
Okay, I have a newbie question, and it is my question. You know how I've noticed this on your holsters, and I've not noticed it on other ones, so I'm just asking about it. And I don't know what the word is for it, but when I put the gun in the holster, when it's almost to the end, it does this like little click thing, like I know it's in there and it's secure. Whereas other holsters I've used don't have that thing at the bottom, that drop at the bottom. Do you know what I'm saying? What is that?
the click.
Well, I don't know. It's like, I don't know.
I mean, most of the time, the click is a audible sound and a tactile feel, oftentimes, to tell you that it's seated properly all the way in. So all that really is when the trigger guard width goes past where the retention indentations are, it actually spreads the Kydex, and in doing so, it opens it up, and then as soon as it comes back down, it's actually snapping the plastic. So you can kind of hear it in that. Now, granted, this is a blue gun, so the specs are different than a regular gun, right? So that's the other thing about some of our stuff, or most of our stuff, is we build everything with real guns. Like I CAD it all out and design it off of the real steel, and then I fold it and test it on real guns too, so that I don't have any specs on whether this fits or not, right? So that's something some people do, is they'll even advertise it with a blue gun in it and test it out. So it's
Okay.
just something to look out for.
Okay. Okay, now can you talk to us briefly, because I know we're mainly going to talk about concealment, which probably means inside the waistband. It could be outside the waistband, depending on the situation. But could you tell us the differences between inside the waistband and outside the waistband and the applications of each.
Yep. So I'll just start with outside because there's only one outside waistband that's style of holster that's really concealable, because the main goal of this live today is to get people to understand concealment so that they're not scared or worried about carrying, and so they can apply some of this stuff to what they need to do to carry every day when they're ready for that. This is a range type holster. It mounts, your belt loop threads through this part right here, and it's basically hangs off the side of your hip. I'll get up and show. Hangs right here, and it's good for competition. The only way that this thing is concealable is with a vest of some sort, because if you were to put your shirt over it, it's going to print really bad. It's concealed, but everybody's going to see it, right? Because it's not that hard to see it. The most concealable outside waistband is a pancake style holster like this. You can see that it uses 2 belt loops, and you would run your belt loop through here and carry it strong side. It holds it tight to the body, and it also kind of holds it a lot higher up. The issue with this is not an issue, but oftentimes I've had ladies complain most about not being able to get it because of their body shape. They have smaller torsos, so it rides quite high, so they have to do a lot to get to it. So those are the two. This is the most concealable outside waistband holster. You can use light shirts and that kind of thing. You can cant it if you wanted to help concealment, but as far as a technique, you don't really want it. Draw technique and that kind of thing, you don't want it canted. But concealment wise, it does help being canted up, because that'll help hide the butt of the mag carrier or the magazine right here. So if it's canted up on your body, you have less printing than you would. But that's neither here nor there for that. The best type of holster is inside the waistband, and there's two different positions. One would be appendix, which is anywhere from 12 o'clock to say 2 o'clock, anywhere in your inguinal crease between your groin and your hip bone. And then you have outside the waist, or strong side inside waistband, that would be like 3 o'clock to say 4 o'clock. Anything beyond that, you shouldn't be carrying small of back for safety concerns. So we don't like to recommend that. What else? Yeah, so the inside waistband is the most concealable of all, and in the appendix position is the most of all, and it's the fastest.
Okay. So then let's say that someone's out there and they already have a holster and they're listening to you right now. How do they know if they have the right holster? Depends on what their goal is, I assume. But beyond that, how do they know?
There's a few things that you can look at for a good holster. If you have it, if it provides you with enough room for you to actually get a good grip on it. So this is where the belt line would sit. If you have enough room to get a good claw grip and clear your fingers between the front strap of the grip and your belt line here and get a good hold of it, that's a good start. The other thing is that it retains the holster, or it retains the gun throughout all your movements, and it also should stay on your body when you draw it. There has been a couple times where I've seen some guys in class, they go to draw their holster or draw their gun, the holster comes out with the gun and it's out of their belt, but the holster's still on it. So you want to make sure that it actually stays where it's supposed to when you're drawing. The other thing is that it's quality construction. You want a thicker Kydex. And you can kind of tell thin kydex from thicker kydex just by looking at it. Super thin stuff will have really good definition and have real tight lines. And usually 0.06 is the thinnest of the kydex. And the industry standard's like 0.08, which is 8/100ths of an inch. So that's the thickness of it.
Okay. Trish, I'll get to your question right after this next one. So then what do you think is the best holster for concealment? And can you give us any tips or tricks to the mystery behind concealment? Because I know it is a process to get everything lined up just perfectly the way that you need in order to conceal carry. And you've helped me on that journey. So what are some tips you can give people?
Okay, so the biggest tip that you want to look out for and look for in a holster for concealment is that it has some type of claw wedge. And what that does is it uses belt pressure to cant the grip in towards your body. So it's going to use belt pressure. And as you tighten your belt, it's going to push this grip into your body. The other thing you want to do is measure your gun from the butt of the magwell here to wherever your sights are. And that should, as a rule, be about 45% of your width of your torso. And that's going to help you conceal with regular clothing. Anything more than that, you're going to end up needing to kind of supplement concealment with bigger clothing, maybe some different style of clothing. Those are options. And the other biggest option for concealment and help is some sort of wedge to go in the backside of the muzzle between your body and the muzzle of the gun here. And what that does, and it'll help push the gun out this way and push this part of the grip away from printing. And what it does here is it kind of tends to push this muzzle end out into the groin area, but that's sort of kind of a socially unacceptable place for staring at people. So it's a better place to print, in my opinion, than up in the wasteland where most people would be looking for a gun anyway. But that's going to be dictated by how big your wedge is, and you can balance it so that you get the right sweet spot, right? So there's no printing. And that just takes a little bit of time to play with your gun and on your body, doing what we call the poke and prod method, poke and press method. So if you put the gun on and you push it around and see how that interacts with the rest of the gun. So if you have a little bit of printing up on here and you push it, what does that do to it? And how much leverage do I need to place on the wedge or the belt line, right? That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense to me because I've watched the videos on the poke and check method, and then what is the other thing about the valleys and the hills or something? Everybody is different, so you want the gun in the valley. Is that right?
Yep. So everybody's different, and that's going to be your sweet spot. Is the best place for it's going to be in the valley. So valley for, like, say a lady would be the chest, right? If they have a bigger chest, they would have peaks here, and all the valley would be pretty much up front, depending on their size of their stomach and that kind of thing. And say if you have more of a tactical, what muffin top, if I've heard it called, right? So if you have more of a gut, your valley may be somewhere on the side above your hip bone, say, instead of 12 o'clock, because it just depends on your body size. Short or smaller guys like me and Adam, our valleys are basically however big we can get our chest. And the peaks are here and here. So our values would be somewhere up in the 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock range.
Yeah,
So
for
every body is going to be a little bit different on where that sweet spot is. So you gotta take that holster and the gun and a wedge and kind of tweak it to where it best fits you. And that could be ride height, which ours are adjustable. You can adjust the ride height a little bit as long as you don't sacrifice your grip, right? You don't want it super low so that that belt line is precluded. So the thing about it being a higher ride is that if you were wanting to do deep concealment, that requires a completely different setup. Because if you ride this belt too high with a regular belt clip that attaches to your belt, you won't be able to get to the grip of the gun in a timely manner without really fumbling around, right? So that's where the really cool and awesome Filster Enigma comes into play, because it's completely independent from your belt. So you can run this as high or as low in basically any position, independent from your belt line. And you can run deep concealment under your pant belt line there, or if you were to wear, you know, yoga pants or whatever, or gym shorts, but you wanted it under the belt line completely. That requires different technique in draw and practice. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of the Enigma now. That's all that I wear, and I did my own test run on that as a runner in my workouts. I can do anything with the Enigma on. I have run 3 miles, and the thing has it. What I had before was a belly band, like it was just such a nightmare because the gun would flop around and move into wherever it felt like it wanted to go with the belly band. With the Enigma, there is no movement, there's no flopping, and I can wear whatever I want, pretty much. And I don't have to worry about it. It's breakthrough. I would have never even probably heard of it if it wasn't for Adam. Adam had one on last April. And I swear when he first showed it to me, I was so confused when I first saw it. I thought, what in the world is that thing? But then when I started learning about it, I realized it's really breakthrough technology.
So Laura, during that 10 days, you had a confused look on your face a lot.
Yes, I did.
So yeah, cool story about the Enigma is that if you want to buy one of our shells or holsters and are on our site at havendefenseco.com, they're completely Enigma compatible, but we all to be user-friendly. So we put a purchase order in for some so that we can actually sell it on our site with our product and send it to you, so you don't have to go to 2 different websites to get a Enigma rig of some sort. So if you were on our site and you like our H&K holsters, the VP9 holsters, and want to run an Enigma, you can get it all together here in a couple weeks, probably, once we finish out the details. So
Awesome. Okay. Trish had a question about carrying a spare mag when your appendix carrying inside the waistband. So she said, can you talk about the magazine carrier when you wear appendix inside the waistband, how to wear it and where to wear it?
yeah. So if you are wearing a spare magazine, you kind of want one that would cant like this one. I'm glad I brought this down. So it's going to sit adjacent to your dominant side, whatever that might be. Probably if you're right-handed, it's going to be in the 11 o'clock to 10 o'clock region, depending on where your gun hand is going to sit also. You do want it to sort of cant towards your non-dominant side to give you access. If it's, and comfort wise also, if it's canted, it's not going to stick straight up into your rib cage. I don't recommend using any kind of wedges on these because that tends to hinder when you do a reload with actually getting to the magazine. If it's really pushed in there, it's kind of hard. The other thing that I always recommend is to not get a one-piece sidecar type holster, which means the magazine and the holster is connected as one, because it is not user-friendly for everybody, right? They bend it when they send it out of the warehouse to a certain degree, and then they put a wing here, and some guys put a wing on this, and that actually negates the purpose of the wings, if that makes sense. And everybody is different, so you might need to have that magazine in a different place for comfort and that sweet spot of concealing that little magazine. Not that hard, right? But it can affect printing as well. You can print a mag if you really are not paying attention. But if it's set up wrong, because everybody's different, it's not going to work for you. So I tend to try and get people to steer clear of them. I'm working on something where you can actually attach these two with a bridge type of thing. So that'll be coming out here pretty soon. But I always recommend a standalone mag carrier so that you can place it kind of wherever you want without it being attached.
Did you have something to add, Adam?
Yeah, so Trish, since you asked, I'm going to stand up so you can see this. Understand, I don't have a belt on, so it's not sitting quite right. But notice my appendix is sitting right here, blue gun. It's sitting right here. I like this, the clips, the steel clips that are set apart versus a lot of holsters that have the clips that are close together. It's either or. I just like that little bit of spread. And then for me, the magazine literally is sitting right here, angled out. So when I pull, I can get it. So when you take it off, the magazine is sitting like this, if you can see it in the light. So I just angle this clip to what's good for me. I put them together like he's talking about, right? A lot of them have the full piece. I like the separation of the two so I can move around based on my pant line or belt line that day. And so gun here, magazine here.
Are you? Oh, I thought you were talking, Brent. Did you have
No.
something else to add?
I just, Adam's picture was still up. I was going to tell him that I'm sending this one to you, mister. It's a little bit longer, so it'll kind of balance out the weight. So just saying.
So on that note, for everybody listening, right, for the years now, Brent's been sending stuff out to Let Me T&E, and it's just been awesome because we're able to take stuff that the industry is doing and make it even better. And he actually listens, right? He'll listen and he makes all sorts of neat adjustments as I beat these things up to death. So it's just pretty cool to see the evolution of this.
And Brent, could you speak to the different types of attachment systems? I know that Adam just briefly touched on that, but aren't there two different kinds of systems to attach?
There's
like two different kinds of clips or something?
What?
Aren't there like two different main kinds of clips that people use?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different types, but I try to steer towards the best that we can find for the industry. Some of them, I don't have the cheaper kinds, but we've got soft loops here, and what they do is they go in your pant this way under, and then your belt loop goes through, and then you run that over your belt like this and clamp it down, right? This isn't the right size, but you get the idea. And that only comes off one way. They snap in from the bottom, and then to get them off, you have to push them from the top and out. They're super secure, but they're a little bit bulky, but they're really no more bulky than the other option, which is that we offer is the monoblock, which is a steel version with a little bit more grippy hooks kind of on the inside there to secure it really well. What's called a foamy or fold over molded injection clip that most of the holsters nowadays have. They're okay as long as the blocking on the holster itself is correct for the angle of it. Otherwise, you can actually have what we talked about before of the whole holster coming out with the gun when you go to draw. So I stick with the monoblocks or the soft loops option for this type. The other type is what Adam runs, and often I will too, is a little harder to put on, but they're more secure, but they're also tuckable. So you can wear a pantsuit and jacket, and all that you would see is this belt clip right here. Or if you had it behind your belt, it can tend to grip pretty well on, say, a pair of jeans or whatever, and you were wearing a button-up, plaid shirt, but you wanted to conceal it completely and be tucked in for more of a formal event. You would want the Mod 4 DCC clips, which we offer too. So those are the three ones that we use. There's other kinds that are, like a wide clip that you can buy that are like universal 1.75 to 1.5 inch belt loop or belt sizes. I don't recommend that you run a bigger belt size clip than you run on your belt, because that's going to create a lot of movement before the retention is starting to break. So you'll come up here before your belt catches the bottom, and then you got the draw. So you always want to run a belt loop that's the same size as your belt, as close as possible.
And then I've seen some people running a clip system with the Enigma, where I don't do that, but do you recommend that?
That's kind of going to be up to the end user. The only reason I've seen them use it in the group is because, which is the Filster Enigma Concealment Workshop, I think it's called, which is a really good place for info if you want to go there. But you're talking about, you've seen the Enigma setup, and then they got the DCC clip here, right? Yeah, so I think the main idea behind that was just a little extra security from the unit moving up and down on their belt or their pant. If you're not running a belt and you're running like yoga pants or something, it kind of defeats the purpose. So I think they're trying to compensate for the leg leash, which is what the whole system was designed for, to keep it from riding up and down. So.
Okay. A couple other questions here. Do the magazine carriers you do have the same clips as the holsters?
Yeah, well, the new ones I'm coming out with, they have the DCC Mod 4s, and you can run them interchangeable. So if you want to be able to tuck it in, you would need to order a holster with the DCC Mod 4s, not the monoblock, because the monoblock is mounted up here and you can't tuck a shirt in, and the DCC Mod 4s mount down here and here. They give you a wider spread of belt pressure here, so it can rock a lot less back and forth. But I find that if you're getting in and out of a car a lot or whatever, a little bit of give this way kind of helps. But if you like it secure, the best options are either two of these or two. The best option is the two monoblock or Mod 4s. They're so similar. I keep mixing them up. I work with them all the time.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
So if you can, for those of you who can see the camera of mine, I've got, I think what he's calling the DCC clips here. Notice how they're wider apart.
Yep.
It's a harder steel than what he's calling the monoblock, these two small clips right there. The beauty of these, if you see it from the top, when the shirt goes in for me, I can tuck it in down here. So because of that wider spread, there's less movement on there. I love the stability of it. It's a stronger steel. I can tuck it if I really want to. To me, this seems to give it the better purchase. I've tried them all. These seem to work well. Now, Tori Soper's on here, right? Of Soper Fire Training down in like Indiana or Ohio or somewhere crazy hot like that right now. And he likes the steel, the soft belt loops that are also, at least the ones that I got from Brent, are also tuckable like this would be if you need to be. So they work well. They don't work for me because it tends to poof out. That little bit poofs out right here, which just seems weird in public when you got a little bulge right there as a dude. So that's just a small consideration for me, but I just wanted you to see the difference in the width between the two. And there's just a stronger steel with these DCC clips versus these thinner ones, like what's called the monoblock. Again, there's a soft loops. Soft loops just felt like they shifted a bit for me, though there was spread to them like this. They just shifted a lot. So to me, these feel the most secure. I like guns to say where they're supposed to be for shifting around. But again, like he said, if you're getting in and out of cars, maybe you want that little bit of movement based on this type of clip or the soft loops.
Okay. And then another question. Do you have a belt preference? I recently bought a groove belt. Not sure if I really like it yet. It doesn't work well for outside the waistband. I believe it's designed for inside the waistband.
So the belt that I use is called the Ox Creek Tactical, but they don't make belts anymore. So the next belt, I think, beyond just a regular sturdy leather belt, because I think Adam runs just a regular sturdy leather belt, would probably be, I believe, a Wilderness Tactical belt, which I need to buy one the next time I need a belt. But that's kind of what John Correa and a lot of those guys at ASP really push on because they like them. So beyond a regular sturdy leather belt, if you want a tactical type belt, I'm not sure on groove because I haven't really ever tried them. So I can't attest that I like them. And I don't know on Adam what you think, Adam.
So I'm a big fan of just the leather belts, a good sturdy one, just because they mold to my body a little bit more. Yeah, there's all the good Velcros out there that works. And we're just starting to talk to Justin, who is Lora's hunka burning love. And I mean, he's an incredible saddle maker and leather worker. I mean, the stuff he does, you should see it. Maybe she can tell you the website's incredible. Where I'm hoping, and this was actually Lora's idea, to create something like the Defender Cinch or something like that, some kind of belt system. I think it's really good gun belt, but like Brent said, the Wilderness Tactical makes really good stuff. I have a couple others, and I can't remember their names. They're good, but I generally don't have it with me right here. Just really good thick leather belt because it molds well to my body.
Yeah, so I'll say my preference. I have a Justin Thorson custom leather belt on right now. Yeah, with my Enigma. So that's the one I would promote. Wink, wink. Yeah, and if you want to get a hold of Justin, you can go. He's actually a saddle maker by trade, but he can make a belt. If he can make a saddle, he can surely make a belt. So you can look him up on Facebook, Justin Thorson Custom Saddles. He just put out the most beautiful saddle, one of the top ones I think that he's made in his career recently. So if you want to check out those photos, anyway, shout out to the hubby on that one. Sorry, shameless plug, but he makes good stuff. So, and that's the belt I wear. So. All right. If anybody else has a question for Brent or Adam or me, please put it in the chat and we're going to get into the last portion here. We're almost out of time. So if you have any burning questions that maybe you didn't get in last week, because I know there was a couple of you that had questions and maybe wanted those answered this week, put those in the chat. And also, just real quickly, I want to remind you that the next live is next Wednesday, 7 p.m. For those of you that weren't here earlier, I'm going to have James Fleming on from Warfighter Concepts. And then the following week on August 31st, I'm going to have Brian Hill from The Complete Combatant on. If you guys have any feedback or any questions you think of after the fact, and you want to email me, just reply to the email where I sent you the link. I would love your feedback, your comments. I will consider everything. And if you have questions coming up, if you know James Fleming or if you know Brian Hill or just have questions about them or for them, please put those in your email as well, because I can surely pass those along. If you're not able to make that live, at least maybe you could watch the replay and see what they have to say there. Adam, did you have something?
Yeah, and just for everybody else too, just know that like Robin Sandoval of AGAG, or A Girl and a Gun, is coming up on here sometime in the near future, and some other rather big names have decided they're going to jump on here too. So we've got some incredible people coming into the lineup here. Laura's obviously motivating people to want to join this thing, so just fantastic. Just so you know that that's coming.
Well, I guess it's going to have to happen now. I wasn't going to bring it up, but because I wasn't sure it was like for sure or not. But okay, all right. If Adam says it's a go, then I guess it's a go. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so we'll leave it at that. I just want to thank you guys so much for your time and your questions and your thoughtful feedback that you guys have been giving me. I truly appreciate each and every one of you for watching, and we'll see you next week.